Simon & Schuster Audio presents
A Marvelous Life, written and narrated for you by Danny Fingeroth. For Varda, thanks for the marvelous life. Preface. If you ask most culturally aware people to name their top 3 comic book creators, they will likely respond, Stan Lee. And then they will stop. That's the only comic book creator most people know. Those same people could probably name 10 film directors or novelists, maybe even 10 painters. But comic book creators, 1, Stan Lee. Which is strange for any number of reasons. For starters, Lee was a comic book, or as he preferred to spell it, as one word, comic book, writer, editor, art director, publisher, and executive. However, despite the very visual nature of comics, Lee did not draw professionally, although he was a more than decent doodler. He was not a comic book artist. Also, while the characters he was involved with have become some of the most popular and lucrative entertainment franchises of all time, Spider-Man, the Avengers, the X-Men, to name just a few, Lee did not design the characters or draw their adventures. He needed artists to do that, and he collaborated with incredibly gifted ones to create Marvel's most famous superheroes. Lee's 2 most significant collaborators were Jack Kirby and Steve Ditko. You would think that, as the men who partnered with Lee to breathe life into the characters and their adventures, they would be as world-famous as Lee, wouldn't you? But they aren't. Beyond that, logic would seem to dictate that since Lee was associated with Marvel, which had previously been known as Timely and Atlas, for more than 75 years, he must have been one of the company's owners, that every time a ticket for a Marvel movie was sold, some fraction of it must have gone to him. That, however, is not true. Lee was always an employee of the company, a well-paid one to be sure, but one who owned no percentage of any of the characters he worked on there. And yet Lee became the voice and face not just of Marvel Comics, but eventually, whether he intended to or not, of comics in general. This fame was based originally on the long stream of success that Marvel's comics had from 1961 to 1970, when its most famous characters were created, when Marvel was part of the cultural conversation, along with James Bond, Kurt Vonnegut, Betty Friedan, Mickey Mantle, Muhammad Ali, and the Beatles. That's 10 years in a life that lasted more than 95, and a career that went...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?